Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and today we are going to be beginning the finishing process on our Estes DARC-1 here. Before we actually do anything with painting or anything like that, we need to figure out a place to hide all these shock cords because I really don't want to paint them. Painting them, you know, it would not help the elasticity of the bands. So this part I think is the easier one to deal with. So I'm just going to cram all this stuff into the little bay that we made. And then I'm going to plug said bay. There is going to be some of this sticking out into the central cavity. And I do need to paint the inside of this, unfortunately, because it sticks out more than anything else. But so some of the shock cord is going to be exposed. But I'm going to minimize that by getting as much of it as I can in here, and I'm just going to stuff some paper towel in there, and that should protect it pretty well. This part is a bigger problem. Now, obviously, I'm going to put the shock cord into the body tube here, but there are several inches of this that are going to be sticking out, and I do need to paint this. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to do with that for the time being. I mean, when I paint it, maybe I'll just pull this part off like so and just keep it away. Maybe I'll have it dangling upside down. I don't know. But for the time being, I'm going to get it fairly taut, and then I'm going to cram this stuff into the tube as well. And I mean, that'll minimize some of the problem. I'm not going to have extra bits of this floating around, but I'm sure this is way too much paper towel. But I'm still going to have some, which is kind of unfortunate. It would be nice if you could not put on the shock cord until after painting is done, but I don't really see how you could do that. I don't think that's really practical. So yeah, that's just how things are going to be, I guess. All right, so with regard to finishing, the little display leg here, and when I paint it, I am going to stick it in here like so. I suppose I might as well just leave it like this for the time being. Just as long as I don't paint it in place, that could be a problem. But that'll be fine. This is purely decorative. I just don't want to get that dowel stuck inside the launch lug. I mean, I could get it out, but it's not a big deal. The fins themselves, they are going to have to go through my usual routine to get the grain minimized. So I've taken a bit of my wood fill here. I've added a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of water, like maybe an eyedropper full. I'm measuring it out of the tap, but not much at all, because you don't want this to turn into a particularly runny liquid. Right now it is, it's got the consistency of paint. It's a little chunky, actually. I need to stir it up a little bit more. But that's kind of the consistency we're looking for. Even if I add a little less, that wouldn't be a bad thing. So more like a thin paste would be pretty good. All right. So I'm actually going to leave this over here for the time being. I'm going to paint this stuff on to the big fins down here. And this is a little runnier than I usually get it. So if it is particularly runny, it's fairly important to do the top and the bottom of the same fin in short order. This is fairly thick. I mean, it's not that thick, but it's reasonably thick balsa. Thin balsa has a penchant for warping if you get it wet, especially if you only get it wet on one side. So do be careful of that. Shouldn't really be an issue for this particular piece, because it's thick enough that it probably won't deform all that much. But still, it's a good habit to get into. Do the top and then do the bottom. Don't do this side, then that side, and move on, because that will give the wood some time to deform, even if it's not going to deform all that much, it's probably something to be avoided. All right, I am going to take the time to paint the edges of this, not because I'm concerned about getting the grain out, but it's kind of nice to get it a uniform color before we do the priming step. And there is a lot of grain I can see here that's going to have to be removed. That's fine. That's part of the process. All right. What I don't really want is blobs of paint, well, wood fill, left on any of these edges. So I'm going to try to get that off as best I can. All right. Let's do this fin. So this fin, it's going to go inside the shell there for the flight. So this one I'm kind of less concerned about, and it is going to get chewed up a little bit, I think, in the process, just because of it's going to be kind of friction fit in place. So that could be a potential problem, but it's also a reason why I'm not going to get too concerned about the top part of this. I kind of unload my brush here on the other side here because I actually have probably significantly more of this wood fill mixed up than I actually need this batch. And while you certainly can paint the tubes here as well, I didn't really intend to. I mean, you can, it's not a bad idea. It's a good way to get rid of the spiral part of the tube if that's pretty obvious. This actually has a very tight spiral. It's hard to see even now in its raw form, so I wouldn't generally worry about that. But seeing how I ended up getting some brush strokes kind of overlapping onto the tube, I do want to spread that out so I don't have like blobs that I need to sand off the tube once I've more or less finished the work here. But yeah, there's a lot of grain in this today. That's probably an indication that I didn't sand this particularly well initially, like as I removed it from the main sheet. Yeah, it's okay. It might indicate that I should do 2 layers of wood fill and sanding sealer here, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to do that, and the reason is that this particular piece, looking at the box and the instructions later, it's going to have a big decal covering pretty much the whole thing. And the decal, I mean, yeah, if you put a decal over a piece of balsa that you haven't done any work to whatsoever, it's probably not going to lay particularly well, and it's going to be somewhat obvious where the grain is. It might not look great, but if you do pretty much any work to one of these things, even if I just put on a layer of sanding sealer or primer even, and sanded it down, that would probably be enough to get the decal looking pretty good. So I'm not going to go all out on these fins, I don't think. That being said, once I sand the stuff off and seal it, sand that off, it doesn't look good. You know, if there's still pretty obvious grain to it, I will probably come back, because I'd prefer to have minimal amounts of grain, even if there's going to be a decal over top of it. Okay, so that takes care of this. Because of the way this is shaped, I can't just leave it down like this, nor can I leave it like this, so I need some place for this to rest. I'm going to enlist a glue bottle and just kind of leave it like that. It's going to go out here, outside frame, but that's a good enough place for that. All right, as for the top part of this, the fins aren't very big, so yeah, I probably have like twice as much wood fill cooked up here as I actually need, which is kind of wasteful, but what are you going to do? I'm just going to kind of unload my brush as much as I can on this, and I'll come back and smooth it out. That I need to clean up. I don't need a big old white blob. on my cutting board here. And while normally I don't mind getting sealer or wood fill or whatever on the tube of the rocket, this is plastic, and I really don't want to leave any here. There's nothing to fill on the plastic. So once I paint all this stuff on, I'm going to come back with paper towel and try to mop up whatever wood fill I ended up getting on the plastic, because I don't want it there. It's not going to help. It's going to make things look bad, or worse, I guess. Maybe not terrible, but the rocket will look better without any of this stuff on the plastic frame. Okay. Now, one other thing that's worth mentioning, I still ran the brush over these edges just to get them fairly uniform. But I want to be careful about not leaving pretty much any on the rounded parts that I made, especially not chunky parts. So that I'm going to put over here for the time being to get it out of the way. And now it's time to do a little cleanup. Ooh, that almost fell. Okay. So I'm going to just run my paper towel right next to the fin and try to mop up any of this stuff that I got on the plastic shell. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I am not going to do anything with this landing gear thing. I don't see the reason. I'm not sure that it's. I don't see any real value in making it look nicer. It's so small anyway. The grain's going to be a non-issue, one would think. All right. And with the landing gear in place, this looks pretty stable. You shouldn't need to prop it up on anything, which is good because that would be challenging at best. All right, so that takes care of pretty much all the finishing work that's going to get done in a film anyway. Between now and the next video, this needs to dry. Nice thing about this stuff is it dries quite quickly. This is like a 30-minute process. There's a little bit of unevenness there that I'm looking at. Let's get rid of that. Anyway, so it dries quite quickly, and you can move on to the next phase. Next phase is to grab sanding sealer like so. Well, sand it and then put the sanding sealer on. Let that dry. That takes longer, at least to get it thoroughly cured. So I can sand this down later today and then put the sanding sealer on, and then maybe like 24 hours or 36 hours from now would be time to remove the sanding sealer. And at that point, I will decide if I need another coat of this stuff, depending on how much grain is left. And from there, it would be time to prime and then paint. This one is going to be, it's going to be a little difficult to paint, one would think, but we will get to that in a later video. All right, so thanks for watching, and I will see you later.